Recently, we celebrated Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and on that day, I shared a quote from him on my Instagram account that said, "A genuine leader is not a searcher of consensus, but a molder of consensus." And I've been thinking a lot about that, and I wanted to unpack that a little bit more here today. And I want to talk about how leaders make decisions and what I feel are sort of best practices, or in my experience, what's worked well here at Service Express for us, and what I've seen not work well. And I think when it comes to building or molding consensus, it makes me think of committees sometimes. And I've been on committees, and I'm not a big fan, probably like a lot of you, not a big fan of committees. And as I was thinking about that, I think committees aren't used very well most of the time. I think when you try to make a decision by committee, I think that's when you get into real troubles, like trying to get everybody on the same page and can only move if the whole group decides to move. I think that's what bogs committees down, bogs organizations down in decision making. I see this a lot in churches and schools, and I see it in other organizations as well, that when you try to make a decision by committee, it just doesn't work great. I think committees can be useful if you have a committee that you assign to go get information, to gather information in different areas to bring back to then discuss the information. But I think ultimately any organization, whether it's for profit, non-for-profit, charitable, what have you, I think you need a leader who's not afraid to make a decision and who's willing to step out and make a decision. And, at Service Express, with my executive team, I'm transparent and share a lot of information, and I love to gather all their thoughts and opinions. But at the end of the day, on most decisions that are up through that channel that fall under me, there's decisions that I need to make as CEO that I'm responsible for. And they know, I believe they'd know if you'd ask them, all of them, that they are heard. I want their opinion, but at the end of the day, I need to make decisions. Now, as a leader, you have to be strong enough to know you shouldn't be making decisions on your own, right? That's why I have an executive team that I can get their thoughts and opinions in different areas of expertise to get all the information so I can make the best decision possible. A big mistake I see leaders make is trying not to counsel or connect with anybody and just try to make decision on their own in a bubble. And I think that's a mistake too. That's not where the best decisions are made. So I think you got to use your team to get in the information, but then you got to make the call yourself. And I think if you're in a situation where if you have your sort of inner counsel and they don't agree with your decision, I think you need to think about your decision more. And two things: either it's the wrong decision, and that's happened to me. I've brought things to my teams and they've given me feedback. I'm like, yeah, you're right. After seeing from that perspective, this is not a good decision. But I think also, if you really believe it's the right decision and they're not on board, maybe you're not presenting it right. Maybe you haven't convinced them. Maybe you need to go back and do more work to get more information so that it's more obvious to everybody. And I think that's where that whole idea of being a molder of consensus comes from, that you're not searching for a vote by committee and that's how we'll make decisions. That is not how we make decisions at Service Express, and not how I do it. But I mold consensus, I get information, and that helps us move forward. And I think if I can't do that, then I need to look at the decisions I'm making. And a lot of times I hear complaints from people like, well, I brought up an idea and nobody wanted to do it, got shot down, so I'm never going to bring up an idea again. And I think that's really weak, because I think you got to look at yourself and say, if I brought up an idea and nobody wanted to do it, was my idea any good, or did I communicate my idea well enough? That's happened to me number of times, probably more than anybody in the company, because I bring up a lot of ideas, and oftentimes my ideas don't make it through my team, and for good reason, because there's things that I wasn't thinking about and different perspectives that I need to get, and they should be shot down. But I don't stop, right? I keep going, I keep looking for ideas. That's how it leads you to great ideas. So I'd like you to think through this. Let me know your thoughts on committees and how you make decisions best in your organization.